Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up for Friday the 13th, 2017. The WNW 305. My lead story is not Harvey Weinstein, not the fires in California, although that's a terrible story, and not even the mass murder in Las Vegas. I'm talking about my big story is the coming financial calamity that I've been on. Nothing's been fixed, and this is another sign on the road to perdition. IMF calls out 9 big banks that could soon struggle with profits. Soon struggle with profits? Maybe they're already struggling with profits. Who are these big banks? There are some whoppers in multiple countries. Citigroup in the US, Barclays in the UK, Deutsche Bank in Germany, Sogen Unicredit Group, that is in France, Standard Chartered, another big UK bank, Sumitomo Mitsubishi Financial Group, Mizuho Financial Group, Mitsubishi Financial Group. They are all likely to deliver subpar profits in the medium term, says the IMF. Now, boy, they soft pedaled this today on financial media. Greg Manarino called me up. He is the former floor trader for Bear Stearns, also the founder of TradersChoice.net. And he says, wow, what a story. Any one of these banks could be another Lehman Brothers. And one of them could take the system down. All of them could have a daisy chain of defaults. You could have multiple Lehman Brothers, 9 all at one time. It could take down a bunch of other banks. The derivatives would certainly crash. This would get way out of control. This is way bigger and way more tenuous than Lehman Brothers. And the IMF comes out with this just before about 189 countries meet in Washington, D.C. Here's also what, and don't take Gregory Manarino's word for it. He would want me to put this up. Problems in even a single one of these global systemically important banks could generate systemic stress, the IMF said. Could generate systemic stress. You mean like bringing the whole system down? This is a huge story. And this after, 9 years from 2008 until 2017, until 2008 until now, of emergency policies by the Fed. We still are in emergency posture at the Fed. They have an abnormal balance sheet. This is according to the Fed. They have abnormally low interest rates. This is according to the Federal Reserve. And now they want to clear that balance sheet and start selling this stuff into the market. And they also want to, normalize their balance sheet and normalize interest rates in the face of these 9 named banks by the IMF that they say are shaky enough that the IMF is asking for regulators to keep a close eye on these banks. This is the IMF, folks. Now, I know that not all the IMF isn't lovely and they're part of the New World Order, but this is a warning. And it just doesn't involve a Lehman Brothers. It involves, according to my friend Gregory Manarino, there are 9 possible Lehman Brothers. Either one of them could go down as the IMF, or they could daisy chain those banks and many others, and the derivative complex would go out of control, haywire, and the whole system would come down and credit would seize up, according to Gregory Manarino. That's my lead story. And, anything that happens, in North Korea could be the gray swan, because we know it's coming. Black swan is something totally uncounted on. But anything like some sort of a strike on North Korea, or something getting out of hand in the Middle East, or one of our ships getting sunk, in the South China Sea that we're out there doing freedom of navigation tests, could just blow the whole thing up. And speaking of the other countries, this is North Korea. This is a couple of big guys were absent in all their festivities. Remember, Jim Rickers talked about the 10th of October, which is the formation of the North Korean Communist Party. It's a big celebration, supposedly, and then through the 21st. But, what went on? This is a Fox News story. And this is mysterious absence of North Korea's rocket man raises new nuke missile fears. And now I just want you to read on here, and it says 2 key officials involved in North Korea's nuclear and missile program were reportedly nowhere to be found during public events this week, fueling speculation that another missile launch or nuke test could be imminent. And of course, the real problem is what is the Trump administration going to do about this? That's a huge problem. And if they continue to fire missiles, I mean, you heard Donald Trump talk about the calm before the storm and telling Tillerson there's no sense in negotiating with North Korea. So who knows? Another story that popped up that you're not going to hear about, but this is just down the road here. But if you don't know this, Turkey is in NATO. We have a big Air Force base in Turkey. And this is a really important story when you consider that more than 100 Turkish soldiers and 30 armored vehicles cross into Syria. Now, this is a joint mission with Russia and Iran. Excuse me? Turkey is partnering up with Russia and Iran. And then we have Turkish incursion means that Kurdish U.S. coalition allies will demand a U.S. response. Folks, we're backing the Kurds. They hate the Turks. The Turks hate the Kurds. The Kurds want independence. We have been backing the Kurds as they go after ISIS. Turkey is now partnering up with Russia in Iran. What a mess over there. What a mess. I mean, then we've had all these reports from Russia saying that they had video of them, of the U.S. Helping out ISIS, and that the U.S., Putin says the U.S. just pretends to fight ISIS. I don't know, but between North Korea and the Middle East, those are two big flashpoints that could really disrupt world order and world financial markets. And now I want to talk about the Las Vegas shooting. Listen, I told you last week, I can't figure this out. I don't know what happened. I do know that this is not a story about some 64-year-old guy with a cartoonish amount of guns in his hotel room. This isn't one guy that, wounded more than 500 and killed almost 60 people. And now we have disputes. The cops can't get the timeline right. They had one of his houses that was supposed to be, sealed off and under investigation. Somebody broke into it. We find out that Paddock had gloves on. There are many reports that there are multiple shooters. I don't know if you saw this or not, but Mike Adams, the health ranger who actually does this kind of forensic work for a living, did a blowout investigation, a sound analysis of the gunshots, how fast the bullet moves. It's multiple times faster than the speed of sound. And from his layout, and he went through a detailed scientific walkthrough and explanation of why there's more than one gunman. There's, according to him, at least two. One at 400 yards because of how fast the bullet travels relative to how fast sound travels, and one at 250 yards. And I listen, the hotel is now saying the cops are liars, lawsuits are flying. The whole thing looks like it's like the FBI and the police are almost like the Keystone Cops. And they just can't find a motive. They just cannot find a motive. They can't find a motive, even though that ISIS has claimed Paddock 3 different times. They've doubled and tripled down on it. People like InfoWars say that their sources say that police covering up the ISIS connection, and there was also a video that surfaced that from a Las Vegas TV station. They did a story about how ISIS is targeting. This is a Las Vegas TV station that they did a story on back in May. And this is surfacing. They talked about how ISIS was coming out and targeting, saying they're going to target places like Las Vegas. And they did a video about it. And a Las Vegas TV station aired a story about this back in May. So who knows what this story is? I don't know if it'll ever be unraveled. There's all kinds of claims and counterclaims and claims of obfuscation and hiding evidence and distorting evidence. Listen, I don't know what this is. But the official story is not what this is. And if you Google Las Vegas shooting, all you get is the mainstream media. Oh, it's just one guy with a gun. It's just one guy with a gun. Just one. They don't even question any of the anomalies, any of the wide disparity in facts and timelines, and the multiple changes in the timeline. And I don't know what this is, but it doesn't appear the official story is what this is. California governor says that wildfires could cost tens of billions of dollars, almost 24 dead, 600 missing, 3,500 buildings burned down. They thought they had the wildfires under control, and then for some reason they started in multiple different places and started burning again and again. A friend of mine brings this up. He says, well, that there's been multiple videos out and also press releases out by ISIS saying they're going to use fire as a weapon. And this one comes from the Daily Beast, January 8th, 2017. ISIS has a new weapon, fire. Which does that explain what's going on? I know I'm making a big leap here, and this is just me just thinking out loud. I'm not saying the fires in Northern California and wine country were started by ISIS, but can they rule that out at this point, especially after they started up in multiple locations again? Maybe that was spontaneous. I don't know, but here's what ISIS said, according to the Daily Beast. In January 8th, 2017, the latest issue of its magazine, ISIS is calling for its followers to use arson to spread fear. And it targeted a specific Dallas church. There are multiple references on the internet to ISIS telling its followers to use fire. Don't have to worry about bombs or guns or things like that. Just start fires everywhere. Could this be one of them? I don't know. But a fire has sure damaged a lot in Northern California, a state that is basically suffering, from big budget problems. And now they're going to lose revenue. They've got tons of businesses and buildings and lives to rebuild. There's more than 600 people missing. I'm sure some of those people will turn up, but I'm sure some of those people will turn up dead, unfortunately. And, you have a lot of people out of work associated with wine country and the wine industry. I mean, some of these vines may not come back for 3 to 5 years. Some of these businesses surely will go bankrupt. Even if they do get paid for their buildings and their barns and their vines, surely some people will go bankrupt and throw a lot of people out of work. In another story here, this is no compromise on immigration. I mean, it looks like Donald Trump is flipping and flopping. One minute he's meeting with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer in the White House talking about DACA, and the next minute he goes, I made no compromise on immigration. You know what struck me about this? No compromise. I read the story. It struck me on this was, well, maybe there is a compromise on immigration, and maybe this is just a negotiation ploy. Oh, you want DACA? You want some of that? You want some of that, because he's cracking down. He's cracking down on illegal immigration, which I say bravo. And illegal immigrants take money away from U.S. citizens. Every dime going to illegal aliens in this country should be diverted to the people in Florida, citizens of the United States, Texas, Northern California, and citizens in Puerto Rico. Not illegals from Mexico, Venezuela, Costa Rica. No. DACA, you sit down and you shut up and you sit and wait until we take care of our citizens first. That's what Congress ought to do too. But, people like, Senator Tillerson from my state, North Carolina, and, Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. Oh, let's do something for DACA. We got to do something They can't do anything for tax cuts. They can't do anything for our health care. That's a huge mess that's dragging the economy under. But foreigners, illegal aliens, we got to do something about that. So, I don't know. I mean, will Donald Trump use DACA as a bargaining chip to maybe get his tax cut, being people of his own party, like Senator Corker, who's under a federal investigation and is not running for re-election, is just the beginning of Trump's tax cut problem. One of the problems that surfaced, and I can't believe Trump didn't know this, but listen, President of the United States has a lot of things to remember, and his people should have told him about this, but he's talking about SALT, which is the way people write off state and local taxes against their federal taxes. And listen, for people in Florida where there's no state income taxes, but okay, people in New York that pay a 10% tax, here's Here's the New Yorkers up here. I wrote this down. I mean, New York is almost 8.2%. Add in, if you live in New York City, another 4%. That's about 12%. Look at some of the states around here. You have even stuff places like Minnesota is almost 10%. Wisconsin is 7.65%. They write that off against their federal taxes. If you go out west, California, the highest rate. These are all the highest rates. 13.3% they write off against the federal taxes. Oregon 9.9%, almost 10%. I mean, this is unbelievable. There are, believe it or not, Republican senators from some of these places, and Republicans certainly in the House of Representatives, and that's something that's going to have to be negotiated. They've sold this thing as a plan to streamline the tax code and get bigger standard deductions, but for states like California, where they have a top rate of 13.3%, that's going to be a non-starter. So Trump's going to have a problem with his tax cuts. He's going to have a problem with his tax cuts. I think he'll ultimately work a deal and get something through. He's got a lot of money he wants to bring back. He can do a workaround of that. He's got problems on both sides of the aisle. I mean, all of a sudden, as I told you, Democrats are going to be deficit hawks now. When their party's in power, run it up. I mean, while their president, a Democrat, was in the White House, they unprecedentedly doubled the national debt. They doubled it. They went from about 10 trillion to 20 trillion, roughly. And now people like Joe Manchin, who's in trouble in West Virginia, he's a deficit hawk. He doesn't want to raise the deficit at all. Now, they say that in Donald Trump's tax plan, it's dynamic. In other words, you can't really score it. The way you look at it, it's going to change things and bring in more revenue as it did in Reagan. But that's something that Donald Trump is going to work out. And I bet you he uses some sort of negotiation with DACA for his wall and tax cut. But, the swamp is deep and muddy, and people on both sides of the aisle, their donors don't want to see we the people, that'd be Donald Trump, succeed. They don't want to see that at all. And as a matter of fact, my early Sunday release is the author of this new book, a title in the making. The author's name is Patricia Muth, M-U-T-H, and she starts about the Perot movement in the early 90s. He says, hey, listen, this was long before the Tea Party. The Perot movement were a bunch of people that knew there's something wrong with the country, that criminals and swamp people are running the country. And it flows right on to the day that as we go on, more and more and more people are waking up. And we don't really have two parties the way you think anymore, according to Pat Muth. He says, we really have, the swamp people and we the people. That's what we have. We don't have Republicans and Democrats because that just doesn't exist anymore. Look at what's happening with Donald Trump. He's got his own party fighting him just as hard as the Democrats. So, it's absolutely unbelievable. And add this to the mainstream media, who is totally against it. Remember, I told you that the one of the most recent studies out there, 95% of the stories are negative against Donald Trump. How can that be unless it's propaganda? Unless they're one-sided. I'd say 95% negative stories against the administration in the White House is pretty one-sided. But they're dealing with somebody that's not their usual person. Trump threatens to target licenses of NBC. Woo, boy. And the networks after nuclear arsenal report. And what was the nuclear arsenal part? Well, let's just get it from the source himself. This is reported in Fox News. This is Donald Trump's tweet. Fake at NBC News made up a story that I want a tenfold increase in our U.S. nuclear arsenal. Pure fiction made up to demean NBC equals CNN, Trump tweeted Wednesday. They never had somebody in the White House would do this to them. This is not good for their bottom line. This could, could Trump actually pull the licenses? Maybe not. But the idea that a president is tweeting this out to his, 100 million followers doesn't make you look good. And it's not positive for NBC Comcast stock. It's just not positive for them at all. And either as any other broadcast entity that uses the airwaves, they still have a significant amount of people getting their signal on the airwaves. I know, believe it or not, with Dish and cable and the internet and streaming and all, there are still a significant amount of people still getting a digital television signal. But this is just Donald Trump fighting back. And I'd be worried if I was NBC, especially with the Harvey Weinstein revelations. And all that, because this is just part of the rape culture, as one Hollywood star said in Hollywood. And this is just part of the culture of America. If you look at it, it's Hollywood. You think it's way far apart from the top people in the Republican Party, but not really. They're just the oligarchs, and they're fighting over the bones of the U.S. And the people are waking up, and they're not quite dead yet. This is something I think is also a positive thing about people waking up. Conservative groups are going to war against McConnell. They want him to retire. If you look here, the conservative groups are calling for Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's resignation with increased vigor over what they see as a betrayal of America's wishes. I mean, the American people voted in Donald Trump. I mean, that's pretty obvious that he won, even though I think there was widespread election and voter fraud in multiple states, particularly the blue states. But, people have had enough of it. And I want to say one other last thing about the economy. I want to bring it home with Harvey Weinstein. And I've gotten a lot of grief about, same old thing, you're doom and gloom, it's just the same thing. Well, listen, this story never went away, folks. If you think it went away, it didn't go away. Oh, yeah, the market went up and hit new record all-time highs, but we didn't fix anything. The underlying problem is not only still there, it's worse than it ever was. Just look at the IMF warning about 9 global banks. I think they are warning because they think they're teetering. And if one of them goes down, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, can say, well, we warned you. We're on record. We warned you. We're the good guys. We warned you. But look at the economy, the way it's gone on since 2008. And, the comments I've gotten from very smart people, I never thought they would commit this much fraud, this much crime. They would be this overt and this covert with, bond buying and money printing and intervention. This has been going on. It's absolutely unbelievable. And I'm going to equate the economy to Harvey Weinstein. For years they knew what was going on. Just like this is not a market. This is stock buybacks. This is intervention. This is loose money policies. This is near zero, 1% interest rates. It's just up a little bit since 0% for a long time. A lot of bond buying, a lot of money printing, a lot of money given to the banks, a lot of bond buying, a lot of fraud, a lot of crime, manipulation of a LIBOR, manipulation of the gold and silver market, manipulation of the Forex market, manipulation of the stock market, Chicago Board of Trade, CME, the manipulation everywhere. This is going on. This is going on. If you don't, you're a fool. This is going on. Same thing with Harvey Weinstein. Everybody knew what was going on. They made jokes about it on TV show, Harvey Weinstein groping people and whatever. It's not a joke. It's horrible. I mean, he's been accused of rape. He's groping people. Some people say he's got not just liability problems financially, but he has criminal liability. And Harvey Weinstein been doing this for a couple decades. I mean, he even had it in the Weinstein Company. He even had it so, if he had to pay off people, if the company had to pay off women, he would just have to pay the company back. They knew about it. You all should know about what's going on. The naked short selling of the gold and silver market, the whole deal. This is going on. And everybody in Hollywood knew Harvey Weinstein was a weasel, lech, rapist, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people have said this. Now, this has not been proven in a court of law, but a lot of people have alleged, fondling, rape, horrible pressure against women, groping. You know what? This all worked for Harvey until one day it didn't. Keep that in mind about the markets, folks. Something can go on for a long time, like Harvey Weinstein, and then one day, boom, it's over. And I suspect the markets are going to turn out the same way. And it wasn't just a little step down for Harvey Weinstein. It was a cliff dive into a pool at 100 feet with no water. He ain't coming back from this. And that's going to be the same with the markets. can kid yourself that, oh, this is going to go on for a long time. Oh, we can, with the right amount of growth and the right amount of this, we can take 100 trillion, 120 trillion, 130 trillion. When is it too much? 200 trillion, 300 trillion? When are we going to break? So be careful, folks. I think the market will end the same rapid way that Harvey Weinstein's career and the same wrongdoing and the same malfeasance and the same thing is going to end, and it's going to end quickly. One last thing. I don't like to talk about this stuff because it invites attack, and I don't want people think I'm whining or whatever, but we do a lot of work in the back end to keep the site on the air. Stuff you don't see, stuff I don't talk about, and one thing I have to talk about was an email that was sitting on our server got hacked. It was admin at usawatchdog.com. Well, the hackers, this is what I think, trying to basically devalue usawatchdog.com and make us look bad, got a hold of that, I don't know, several days ago, and started sending out all kinds of tawdry, nasty, sexually explicit, awful emails under admin at usawatchdog.com. That wasn't us. I don't sell our lists. I didn't know that was going on. I've stopped it. But they sent out awful, sexually explicit, horrible, nasty emails. Meanwhile, Yahoo basically shut off many of our emails that we sent out, and they came ricocheting back. That's how we knew we had a problem, even though it wasn't one of our, like, mine is Greg at usawatchdog.com, even though it wasn't that email in particular. It was an email on the usawatchdog.com server. So that was a hack. That was an attack to make us look bad. And anybody out there that I didn't send a thank you to, it's not that many people that donate money, but I thank everybody that donates money. If you didn't get a thank you from me, that's why. Yahoo stopped many emails and mail demoned them back to me. But just to let you know, we had a hack. They got a hold of admin at usawatchdog.com, an email we never used. That has been stopped. And we're sorry if anything came out, but this is the world we live in. We live in a world where they want to suppress your free speech. They want to suppress what you have to do, what you have to say. Anything that's not of the devil, of Lucifer, of the liberal left, communist, New World Order, they want to stop that and make anybody that is on the other side of that argument, we are, make them look bad. And that's why they sent out the nasty, horrible, tawdry emails to make usawatchdog.com look bad. Sorry about that, but it was a hack. That said, thank you so much for supporting usawatchdog.com with your comments and your donations. That helps us out. I'll try to get the thank yous out. I hope they'll go through. And remember, fear not. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, above all, spiritually. Fear not. God the Father and His Son, Jesus Christ, are firmly in charge.